Welcome, Veritas family. This is Give and Take. You're here with Sherry Davis and today, Adam Davis. Welcome, Adam.
Hello, thanks for having me on the show.
We are glad to have you. So, we are going to dive right in as per usual. Tell us where you're watching from and how you might know Adam. Now, Adam is a longtime faculty member with Veritas. Um, he'll probably get to that a little bit more later, but you might have met him as an instructor. He traveled for us once upon a time. Lots of different opportunities for you to meet Adam. So if you're watching either live or in replay, hop in and tell us where you're watching from and how you might know him. We're going to jump right in to the first segment, which is your origin story. Tell us how you came to VBC.
Okay, well, I was a reluctant comer to BBC, is the way the story goes. Interestingly enough, so right out of high school, of course, I knew everything and knew exactly what I wanted to do and how I was going to accomplish that. I did have significant clarity on the direction for my life, but all the ways that was going to piece together, of course, I didn't know. So I had started off at another college. I did my first semester at Crown College of the Bible in Knoxville, Tennessee, and was planning to continue my education there. That was the way that I had planned it. But unfortunately, I couldn't afford to go back. That was just the way it worked out. And at the time, my sister and a cousin were attending VBC as part of a Polycom satellite campus at Hanover Baptist Church with Pastor McAvoy. And so it was kind of like, okay, I'll bide my time until I can figure out what to do. I'll just go ahead and do classes at VBC. It's just, 30 minutes up the road at Hanover, no big deal. And so I did that for the first semester. Then at some point along the way, it became evident that I was not going to be able to go back, but also I began to realize that this was a unique opportunity that I could continue my training academically, but be engaged already in what I was going to have to prepare 4 years to do otherwise. And so I actually got to travel with an evangelist all during the rest of my years of college because I was having the flexibility of being in an online kind of environment. But in that transition, uh, me, my sister, cousin, we started going all the way to the Fredericksburg campus, and interacting with the students that were on the campus through the activities. And ultimately, we ended up making that drive 2 or 3 nights a week, which was, an hour and 15 minutes from where we were living. And people thought we were crazy to do that, but we loved the campus atmosphere so much. We loved the professors that we were interacting with so much. And so obviously, that's how it grew to what it became. I also met.
Also, just to insert, come full circle, last week we had on Ann Rill, who is our academic dean, and at the time, we were roommates, and we kind of fostered the first iteration of student body activities. So she and I originally it started with just the young ladies in the group, but then there was some brothers and cousins and those who were having to wait until the girls were done with their activity. And so then we just started including all the group of college students. And so I think that contributed to some of the desire to come up and just have a full spectrum social life. So I just want to input that there right there.
Yeah, obviously that's the context in which you and I originally met, and and then became what is one of the only legitimate VBC love stories, as we call it. Um,
Lots of it. We do have lots of BBC love stories. So we can have a spin-off show for that. If anybody's interested in that, you can type it in the comments. We'll get that going.
yeah,
That's for another time and place, which is also very fun. So yes, Adam and I are married. We are approaching our 13th wedding anniversary in March, and lots more to that story, but I'll let you finish up.
yes. So after that, I graduated with my undergrad in 2011. Right away started a Master of Ministry degree, which I finished in 2013. And in that time frame is when Dr. Forrester had me start doing some teaching. I skipped the part where I was already working for Dr. Forrester a little bit because he had taken me on when I left the ministry I was traveling with. He kind of brought me on and mentored me, and I worked for him as kind of an assistant. But then once I finished the undergrad degree, I started teaching. That I think 2010 was my first semester teaching, 2010 or 2011, somewhere in there. So almost 15 years now, which is hard to believe.
That is hard to believe.
And then I continued as VBC released the next iteration of graduate degrees. I just went ahead and did those and continued teaching. Ultimately, I became the director of student services, then the dean of students, chair of the ministry department, and I held those positions and got to work with our on-campus students at the time in so many ways. And that, a highlight of my life to this point was.
Which is it's even though they were fleeting, some of those positions were kind of fleeting, it actually just fostered a desire to continue to work with young people and whatever facet that took. And I know that there's more to that story as well. While I got you on a break, Denny here says hello. He says, Sherry, you should know Adam's origin story. Yes, Denny. And there is more to that story. So like I said, we can have a spinoff if you want. We've got Zach here in Fredericksburg. Hey, Zach. Leo in Romania. Thanks for popping on. And Josh Leager says, watching from Columbus, Georgia. Brother Davis taught all Greek classes and a youth ministry class. So those are the ones that are popped on so far. So continue on with your
Nice.
reading.
Yeah. I in that time it's interesting, how my involvement with VBC on campus started because of the activities that you and Anne-Marie were uh, hosting, and then my position ultimately became the one who facilitated all of those activities. And during that time we had a really thriving on-campus life with the evening classes, and we had a drama program, and we had a choir, and we had some dorm students that were, missionary kids and things like that, and a student body government that was really, really involved. And so those were just really fun times. And I did that up until 2019, and that was around the same time that my ministry to young people outside of VBC started to grow to the extent where it was difficult to keep both of them going at the same time. And VBC was also transitioning to online at that point, and so my position would have been changing drastically. And so that was just the Lord's way of moving me on at the time. But that would not be the end of my VBC story, obviously, because a couple of years later, John Edmonds brought me back in to teach Greek courses, and now I teach all of those Greek courses. I started out in the youth ministry department. We didn't have a Bachelor of Youth Ministries when I started. It was my burden to start one, which I did, and taught those courses. And so I went from youth ministry to Greek. It's kind of a strange leap, but that's where we are.
Yeah, that's it is interesting to think over these many years how life and the Lord just throws in all the right people at just the right times to get you to the right end. And those students that you had over these years, I know each person, values and respects you and is excited. And it is an interesting leap to go from youth ministry to Greek classes. Those are two different types of folks that usually jump in. But you should tell the folks that you're involved in your dissertation right now, and you are working on a doctoral program. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's right. So as part of the coming back on to work at VBC and to teach courses, I was entering back into a doctoral program. And so I started that back in 2021, and it's through Columbia Biblical Seminary, which is part of Columbia International University in South Carolina. And they have a unique doctoral program. They call it the modified European style. So basically you do three basic courses and some courses that are specific to your interests. And then the rest of the time is guided by an adjunct mentor, so an expert in the field that you're studying, and you research and write your dissertation at that point. So I I'm now on my second dissertation. And that's because the first one I didn't think I could continue to live with myself if I saw it to the end. So yeah, so those of you who've been in Greek classes, you know I am passionate about Greek, but turns out I wasn't passionate enough to sustain writing 110,000 words on one piece of grammar. So I did start by writing a dissertation under Dr. Constantine Campbell in Australia on verbal aspect in the subjunctive mood, and that means nothing to the majority of people.
Yeah, also we only have a few minutes in this program, so that even just the title of that previous dissertation would take up the rest. We wouldn't even understand it even if
True.
you finished it.
Uh, maybe in another episode we could host a reading of that first chapter. I think that would be very
We
informative.
probably wouldn't have anybody join it, but we can certainly do that spinoff. Granger popped in. He said, "Hey, y'all, met Adam, and he convinced me to enroll in his drama ministry, Alive Ministry." So we're glad to have you. Hey, Granger, thanks for popping in today.
And Granger's
This is
a
just a
student.
PSA. This is just a PSA for those of you who have switched your majors, because it happens and it is usually a good idea. You know, if you have switched, and you haven't found your passion or you haven't found your direction, find that thing that drives you, find the thing that lights you up, because nobody is advocating that you stay in something that you hate or it's just laboring just to get the credential. Find something that you love, that you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We all advocate for that. That's how at Veritas, we all want you to be in the right position. So if you've ever switched your major, don't feel like that's a bad thing, because if you're just in that pathway where you're trying to find yourself, then we're on your team.
Yeah, and that I did that just this semester. I mean, I literally just made the switch, and so now I'm writing my dissertation on the theology of James, and I'm much happier, and I've already been far more productive. So I'm looking forward to wrapping that up here in the next little bit.
Well, that is exciting. And as you know, we mentioned earlier that we are married. We have two little girls. One is 11 years old and one is 7. They're in 5th and 1st grade. And so those are exciting times at home. We're going through all the elementary school stuff, and now they're getting into extracurriculars, which is meaning we're getting into extracurriculars and all of our time for that. So all right, so next segment, we are going to have you, what have you prepared, or what did you bring to the table for the students as far as a tip or resource?
Yeah, I really racked my brain about how to approach this particular segment because in the years that I worked with students at BBC on campus and the years that I've been teaching, obviously I've come across a lot of resources and I've heard a lot of great wisdom. Um, but there are two things that I wanted to share that one is much more practical, the other is a little more spiritual, but still very practical as well. And one of the first things I remember writing down as a student was something that Dr. Wagner, Brother Wagner, said in one of his courses. And I didn't get the chance to go and pull because I know exactly where it is. I know I wrote it in the cover of a book, the textbook for the class. I didn't get to go and pull that out. And so I can't remember the exact wording, but I'll give it my best shot. It was something like, don't let your schooling get in the way of your education, or don't let your schooling get in the way of your learning.
You're learning, yeah,
Um,
you're learning.
yeah. And the idea is that in in college and when you're focusing on this level of learning, there is a tendency to get overly caught up in grading and deadlines and achievement and forget that the real reason that any of us are studying what we're studying here is to be better servants of Christ. And so that was his initial reminder, which just struck me as a new student, like, wow, that's a great thing to keep in mind. And it has stayed with me ever since then. And so I'm a lifelong student, as you can see.
Well, and it probably stuck with you as well because you are a perfectionist and you strive for the A and the 100%. So if there is a teacher who's telling you to lay off of that a little bit, that probably did hit you a little different.
Yes, it was in the context of my first B, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
And so that was tough for me, but certainly that's something that doesn't end, even as a professional, even as an adult, even as someone with a family. There you have to remind yourself to take the time to approach the Bible for your own nourishment and devotionally instead of just always seeing it as an academic pursuit, because there's never going to be an end to the scholarly studies of the Bible, but there should also never be an end to your personal study of it as well. And the other thing that I wanted to share is just a really practical thing. This is not proprietary to me at all. I've heard it many times, but I just want you to know how true it is that that what gets scheduled gets done. Okay,
Mm.
and so as a student, whatever your learning style is, whatever your organizational style is, whether you like making lists or using apps or whatever the case may be, I have found it to be very true in my own life that no matter what my intentions are, if I don't get it written down and scheduled, it doesn't happen. Um, and so the things that get put on your agenda, whatever form that takes, are the things that get done. And so that may mean that also, as I have learned, that you have to schedule the time that you spend in God's Word. And some people balk at that and they think, wow, that sounds, like it's too prescribed or whatever. But if it's important, you'll give it the time and attention that it's due. And the thing is, our lives are busy, and so
Mhm.
what gets scheduled gets done. If that's important, then it needs to be on the schedule. So
Yeah, and as a follow-up, just something simple I heard on something unrelated, but it was that people do what they want to do, meaning you're going to make time for anything that you feel is important. And I think that's really good to schedule it. Yeah, that's good. So last segment is our s'mores, and our category is top 4 phone apps. Now, we had a little bit of a back and forth about this before we even started. So we're going to let you go first. So top 4 phone apps. And this could be whatever. We'll see what you got. All right, go for
yeah.
it. What's your number
So
1?
just a small caveat here, and that is I chose not to feature any apps that are native apps to Apple. None of the default apps, even though I am an Apple guy through and through, and I know that's going to be controversial to some people. It always is. Um, and the default apps that they have, so notes and maps and music and all that stuff, those are great, but those don't make the list because not everyone's going to be an Apple person. And also, they're just default, so you don't have to do any real work to find them or use them. So that being said, my number 1 app on the list is Due,
I
spelled
know you're going to
D
say that.
DUE, Do. It is a reminder app that I use for pretty much everything. It's better than the default reminders app on Apple, though it can talk to it if you want it to. But it's known for its persistent reminders, which means that instead of just reminding you and you dismissing it, it will continue to remind you until you act on it one way or another. It forces you to deal with it. And that,
I knew that you would
I
pick
needed that.
this. And I can advocate for this. It's a paid app. We should say that too. It's probably $5 or $6, but 100% worth it, because if you're like me, you're gonna have that reminder pop up and then it's going to go away and you're never going to be reminded of it again, and then all of my reminders were not helpful. So then I started using things like sending things to my calendar, and my calendar is getting filled up with just generic tasks. And when you had mentioned that to me, at first it was a little overwhelming, because it does, I mean, it really is persistent. It is like, oh my word. I looked down at my phone and it had reminded me every 2 minutes for the last, I don't know, 15 minutes or something. But I've gotten to the used to its rhythm and can move those things along as necessary. It is a super duper helpful app. It's worth every penny. Hop in, use it. If nothing else, that's a really, really good app.
Yeah, we should be seeking a sponsorship for this
We
show.
should. We should. I don't have time to reach out about that, but you feel free if you want to do that. No, just kidding. Okay. My number 1, I will say, totally a whole different direction. My number 1 is Chick-fil-A app. Okay. Because they do it right. They give you the points. You get to pick what you want. Chick-fil-A is delicious. Oh, Brother Wagner just joined from Winston-Salem. Hey, Brother Wagner, you just missed a comment from Adam. Maybe you could type it in the comment. What is the comment that you say? He was giving us resources where you talk about don't let your education get in the way of learning. Is that how you say it or phrase it? Because we were guessing at that, and I think it was pretty close. If you're listening, hop into the comments and tell us that phrase that you tell everybody who gets real wrapped up in their grades. So it's super helpful. So I picked Chick-fil-A app as my number one. It's one, of course, it's my all-time favorite place to go as far as fast food, and their app's really easy to use and it gives you free stuff. So what's not to like? Okay. What's your number two?
I do have to say I did not expect that to be on the list.
That doesn't surprise me. I
Yeah,
went a
I
different
think
direction.
yes, I think we approached our lists very differently, and
Yeah,
that does not surprise me. Uh,
that doesn't surprise me either.
Number two for me is an app called Highlighted, and Highlighted is a great app for keeping track of quotations and taking notes on printed resources. So a lot of us now use digital copies of books and use our Logos software and Accordance software and whatever to read textbooks and to take notes and things like that. But and it's really easy to highlight those things and keep track of those things. But if you have a print book that you're reading and you want to keep track of this stuff, it's not quite as easy. So Highlighted, um, which has continued to improve since they've launched it, allows you to focus in on a portion of the page. It will scan that text, highlight it, and then you can tag it, you can annotate it, you can categorize it. And so if you're doing research in print books, it's especially helpful for keeping track of those notes you don't want to forget.
That's
Um,
interesting. I hadn't
especially if
heard
you
of
don't like marking in books, which I typically don't. So
I hadn't heard of that one, but Brother Wagner says, don't let your schooling, grades especially, get in the way of your education. So we were very, very close to that. Thanks for popping in, clarifying that for us. It's very good advice. Even now, what'd you say, 15, 12 years later, something like
that
that?
was 2008. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. All right, so my number two, again, a different direction. You won't be surprised. This is probably more for the ladies of the group. This is a recipe manager called Paprika. It changed my life. I don't own any print recipe books anymore. I can put all the recipes. You find stuff online, and it harvests all the information in appropriate ways, and you can make your own notes. Like if you change an ingredient or something like that, it'll let you do all of that. And you could just put links in. It'll distill all the information, and I have it all with me all the time. So I use Paprika probably daily, something close to that, and lots of recipes in there. Super helpful. And that one might even be free. I don't remember if I paid for that one, but it was worth it if I did. So Paprika is my recipe manager. All right, what's your number three?
I did know that would be on there, by the
You
way.
did.
I
Wow.
did. I did guess that would be on there, and that obviously was a monumental find because it replaced your one note. Your one Apple note that had all recipes.
Okay, to be fair, I early on in my iPhone days was definitely having just one note, and I would scroll down. It was pages and pages and pages of stuff. And when Adam happened to look at my phone, he's like, "What are you even doing?" I said, "I'm just doing my note." He's like, "You know, you can do more than one." I don't know. I don't do technology. It's not my thing. So I was thankful for any time he would give me some heads up over here.
My number three is GoodNotes.
Good.
And GoodNotes works on iPhone and iPad and Mac. I didn't actually look to see if these are available on Android. That's my bad. But GoodNotes is something that I discovered several years back, and I know Zach, who was watching, also uses GoodNotes, and he probably uses it even more than I do because he really likes taking notes by hand, and so with the Apple Pencil you can do that. But GoodNotes is I mean, it continues to have incredible new features added all the time, especially with AI. But basically, you can create notebooks with with all kinds of documents in it. They can be PDFs that you bring in and annotate, or they can be handwritten documents and they become searchable. So even your handwritten documents are searchable at that point. It's just great for organizing them. And with the AI now, they can create summaries. You can actually have math problems, solved in GoodNotes.
Zach popped in and said, yes, GoodNotes is the best. So he
Yeah.
agreed.
So
Um,
I know he uses that for pretty much all of his documents and all of his files, and I still use it specifically for lecture materials. And
okay, so
I
Josh Lear also says GoodNotes is amazing with 4 exclamations. So take that, Zach. Yeah.
I have used it a lot in teaching Greek too, because I'll have my lecture notes as PDFs and then I'll mirror the screen and a lot of teaching Greek is screen sharing. It's not, you don't see me when I'm teaching Greek, you see my screen. And so I write, annotate all the time. So GoodNotes has basically done all of that for me. So it's very
Okay, that is
helpful.
good. All right, so my number three. Now I'm pivoting a little bit. So my first two were food related. My last two are going to be travel related, which is also something of a passion of mine. Um, my next one is called Wanderlog, Wanderlog. It's a travel organizer. So it is an app that allows you to, if you're going on a trip and you've got um, airplane tickets and you've got hotel reservations, you've got a car rental, you've got attractions, reservations for things, it will allow you to create your trip all in one spot. So you can forward, it'll give you one of those unique email addresses where you can forward the things and it'll automatically pop up in there. And so you'll have your one trip and all of your things are listed there with some notes. I have a free version. The paid version obviously is more robust and has more comprehensive features, but the free version was just enough for me as well. It's a super helpful app when you are doing larger trips and you have a lot of stuff to kind of, it's all down in your email and you might have booked your airplane tickets, 6 months ago, and then you're having to try to find all that together. So that one's super helpful. I really enjoy that one. Uh, all right. So what is your number four?
Number four for me is an app called Rise, Rise. And Rise is a sleep tracking app. And I have used it for the last couple of years. And it's really interesting the insights that it gives you into your sleep and the impact that it has on your productivity, especially. And there's different ways you can use it. Obviously, if you have a smartwatch, it can track it that way. I don't wear my watch at night. But it actually, what it does is when you put your phone down for the last time at night, and then when you pick it up again in the morning, that's how it tracks how long you have slept. And then based on how much you're sleeping and all the other health factors, then it will give you your sleep debt. You can look at your sleep debt. This is how much you owe your body as far as sleep is concerned. And then it will tell you your melatonin window, like you should try to go to bed between this time. It'll be the easiest for you to fall asleep, and this is how much sleep you should get. But all that is helpful. The most revolutionary thing for me was that it actually shows you, based on when you went to bed and when you wake up, what your day is going to look like as far as your energy. And it's very accurate. It's scarily accurate. It has what's called the peaks and I've already forgotten what the other term they use is, dip, the dip. So you'll have peaks of your energy that, like, you have one in the morning, you have one in the evening, and then you have an afternoon dip. And so there have been many times I've been working at my desk and I start to feel like, oh, and I'll look at my phone and it's like, you're in your afternoon dip. And
Oh my
so,
word.
yeah,
Wow.
it knows based on your sleep
It
patterns.
knows.
And that helps you to schedule your day because there are certain things you don't want your most important stuff to be scheduled during the time you're in your lowest energy. You want your most important tasks to be scheduled when you
I
have
wish
your.
it had some kind of authority so that I'd be, oh, sorry, I'm in the dip. I can't be really doing that thing right now. So I'm in the
Yeah,
dip.
I haven't tried to use that to get out of things yet, but
Yeah, I
it's
don't think
maybe
it would go well.
worth pursuing.
Lisette is in South Carolina. She's no doubt visiting her grandson. Thanks for popping in, Lisette. Um, yeah, I didn't realize that. So I wouldn't imagine, I would be interested to see if any of you are brand new parents or have a newborn in the house, how an app like Rise, is it just red flags all over, like dip, 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 your whole day's dip. You're up all night, your whole day's a dip. So you have to get grandma involved so that you can get some sleep. Okay, my last one is an app called Ben, BEEN. And so I wanted to show it. I have a personal goal of reaching all the states, and I only have seven, one, two, three, four, five, six states left. And I'm going to show the screen here. Am I getting close? I don't know if I'm over it or not.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I only have those in the Midwest area and then Alaska and in Vermont. So anybody who wants to have me out there, I'd be just shameless plug to come visit because those are the states I need to get to 50 to all the states. So this app will do regions. It does countries of the world. So there's a number of international countries that I've been to as well. But it's a really fun app to keep checking in on, especially as I am nearing the end of my personal journey in that area. So it's a fun app if you are a traveler and you like to keep it under wraps, like where you've been. Ben is a good app for you. So. All right. Well, that was so much fun. What 30 minutes right on the dot. We did pretty well. So we've got a lot of people. Thanks for popping in today. If you have enjoyed some of these, we'll try to put some of the apps in the comments as well. Thanks for joining us. And if you have some other apps you'd like to suggest, we are always open for learning new things. So we will catch you next week. We have next week is not the Super Bowl, but the week after. So we have some fun things coming up and give and take for that. So we will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.